What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode number 478. My name is Steve, one of the co-hosts of the show, and as always, I'm joined by...
Right.
Don't you see? Don't you see? Don't you see? It's me,
You just keep
John.
Hey, John.
Hey, it's me, John. Don't you see?
I do
Thanks,
now. Thank
Dr.
you.
Amiri.
I think listeners, I don't even know. I'm kind of We didn't really talk about this before we started recording. We kind of alluded to it, but we didn't really talk about it. We are all tired right now,
Yeah.
and we don't have that much to talk about in this episode that's planned. And so, folks, this is going to be. We're going to call this a low-impact episode of Movie Schmovie right from the start. If we end up arriving somewhere really grand, that's great. But for now, I think we all feel sort of like we're clocking in here at the Schmovie Factory for a very important visit with our beloved listeners. But we really don't have the usual episode map that we have on an average week. So aside from required viewing, we don't really know what we're going to talk about. So join us on this adventure and find out how we did.
You tell us.
You tell us. This is the definition of mid-February during a very, very cold winter here in in the Mid-Atlantic.
For sure.
So I guess before we do required viewing, Ronald, you said you had some news item.
Yeah, a very cool news item.
Right.
Severance has been purchased by Apple. And, I guess what that means in general is the IP as it stands, the whole rigmarole concerning this show has been purchased. And it seems like for very good reason, because this show is now, when you watch the Apple Reel, it's Ted Lasso, Severance, Silo, Godzilla, a couple other shows. Like it's getting to the point now where Apple is trying to put its foot, trying to create a footprint in this streaming game, and I think that they're winning in a lot of ways. Like,
Right.
Just think about the ratio of shows they have versus how many of them have been nominated for things. It's really cool. I mean. And then everything that hasn't been nominated, most people say, if they've watched it, wow, you should be watching this.
Right.
Which is really cool. I mean, it does have like an HBO kind of reputation when it comes to the quality of its programming. And that's not bad for a company whose footprint in this game of TV has not been for that long. It's COVID.
Well, I feel like with Apple, there's like two or three sort of common things you hear about Apple. One is I hear a lot of jokes about how expensive Apple is as a service, which I don't know if I quite agree with, but I do understand why people feel like, what is this Apple thing? Why am I spending this much for this? And the other thing is I definitely hear people talk a lot about how, kind of what we say, but it's like, oh, Apple, no one talks about it, but they have this great show and this great show and this great show. Yeah. I think it's beginning to sound like what you just said, Ronald, where, oh yeah, people know about Shrinking and they know about Severance. And I can't feel like there's another big S show on there's a couple.
Oh yeah, this is the
Silo. I don't know if Silo's like a big marquee. I feel like Silo and Slow Horses are like, but Silo and Slow Horses are like the great. But those are great shows that get talked about. Slow Horses maybe a lot more than Silo, but still there's this sense of like you have to remind people the identity of like HBO. You have to remind people the identity of Apple Plus being like the umbrella that all that stuff exists under. So I do think it's kind of like interesting at this point that Apple has made so many great shows, and yet you still hear people talk about Apple TV Plus like it's some kind of specialty item, and not like, the thing, like you sort of assume most people use Netflix or most people use Hulu or something like that.
Right.
But Apple TV Plus, I feel like it's still kind of growing.
Also another S. So.
Yes, that's the other one I was trying to think of, I think, because that got a lot of attention. And I think what we were saying before was if you're a new show on Apple TV Plus and they give you a name that doesn't begin with S, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What the hell's going on?
Kind of part of the it's crazy because it's Sugar, C, Silo, Severance, Shrinking, Slow Horses,
Studio,
Stick.
All right.
There's literally like 3 more that I'm not naming, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
That it is that, like, I think one of the isn't one of the alien ones like
Oh yeah.
with an S, what is that called? You've talked about it before, Ronald.
Dang, I like that show too. I need to watch the current season.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It didn't get remembered, sadly. I could be wrong. Also, it might not be S, but I thought it was another.
I feel
S.
like it is.
But yeah, it's funny. I mean, I know they have the one that's Invasion, but I thought there was another S show. Maybe it's not an alien. What's the one that Lee Pace is in?
That's Foundation.
Oh, Foundation. Okay, maybe.
Well, otherwise known as Soundation. So you're right.
But it is interesting that, like, to think about, the idea that they're building a library. That's what Apple TV Plus has always been to Apple. Apple, is a tech company first.
Yeah.
And this is a part of their brand, a part of their portfolio. And to have a library, to say that the second season of Severance was like the most watched series, and, they have the money to keep these shows going as long as they want the cash from other avenues of the business. So it is really kind of, I personally think it's really cool to see something like that happen. I mean, I know a lot of people, this kind of thing would be seen as like, kind of selling off something that you had ownership over, and now like a big, IP driven studio like Apple or an Amazon or whoever has the interest in just like pumping out seasons, as where we think about how long it took between the seasons for Severance for other reasons, COVID, the strike, all that was all a factor. But it's just interesting to see a move like that happen between a season 2 and 3 when the streaming wars are not over, but they've kind of sort of in many ways been won already, because there's so much consolidation happening. And, like with Warner Brothers possibly, or being bought by Netflix, and, that stuff consolidating at some point. It's just it's a move to say, we don't want something like this show we don't intend to license it out to another streamer. We intend to keep it, at least for the near future. Maybe in the distant future, you license it out. But to buy this for $70 million, which is what the reported purchase price was from fifth season, that's like a pretty big move. It's a pretty big play on saying, like, we're going to make a lot of seasons, at least 3, whatever it is, 3 or 4 seasons. But, that doesn't ever stop the possibility of more stuff in this universe, right, which they now fully own, But you guys kind of mentioned this before we started recording. I didn't really know much about this, but even just reading some of it briefly now, like learning that, that the studio had already been getting money from Apple for the seasons, for advances and like to help finance the budget for it, securing advertisers and stuff like that for the platform. Mm-hmm. I just think it's, it makes total sense for them to say to keep giving it to a production company to be like, we'll just take it, and like they're going to stay on as a producer anyway. So, they'll probably still have a big hand in it. And now that you say it, I saw Ben Stiller's tweeting stuff over the past couple of days, and it makes sense. I didn't understand what all the like damage control seemed to be, but it was in responses to people being like, oh, now they're going to mess it up. It's not the same people, and it's like, he was basically saying similar to what I just said, which is like, they've been involved the whole time, like we made this and took it to them. Yes. But especially in the second season, like if you love that, like they were involved in that the entire time. So like, if your concern is them, rest assured it's not a concern, like in his words. But like, it's a cool thing. It's a show obviously we all love. I mean, I thought both seasons are amazing. I can't wait to watch more of the show. But it seems pretty logical when you look at other streamers that own stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
For them to own it.
You're reminding me of part of one of the podcast we listened to, one of the companies that funds some of Severance, the language that they used about Severance sounded very strange.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, we're going to do with it whatever we want kind of thing. Like once we get to a point where, it's not on Apple anymore, we're going to kind of, that must have made him feel weird. I mean, I don't know. That may not have been the only time he heard something. Ben Stiller heard something like that, but if it wasn't, that's probably even worse. Because it sounded like essentially, John, that once the Apple deal was done and there was no it wasn't exclusively on Apple TV, that it was just going to be loosey goosey how it was going to be marketed, how it was going to go out, like spinoffs. It just didn't sound like there was a clear understanding of somebody that understood the show versus somebody that was paying for the show.
Right.
It seemed like a very big disconnect. And Apple seems to understand that there's some nuance to it. And this guy didn't seem to understand it at all. He was trying to sound like he did, like he had the artist in mind, but it came across sounding very like, I don't think I'm going to be protected in the end.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was also a lot that happened. Like Severance is an expensive as hell show, and costs went up for various reasons during the production of season 2, which took a lot longer than anyone intended. And if you ever heard people talk about the future of the show, it was always like, I mean, for one thing, I think Ben Stiller is a pro and knows, like, he doesn't need to have a Kevin Feige. I'm not saying Kevin Feige is not a pro, but I'm just saying he doesn't need to have an announcement about the expansion of the franchise to have plans. But there was always this nebulousness around answers about when they'd be coming back, how they'd be coming back. It was always like, well, we should be back before too long, and we hope we can continue the story, and we think there's more to tell. I mean, it was always this weird thing of like, do they not see this as like a cash cow? Or not that I wanted them to. Frankly, I felt like during season 2 of Severance, I really started to see the end of it. Like I started to see, another season or two, and you will have told this story, because it was, just the pace at which things happen and the way things happened. It felt like there's not this endless story to be told, or there's not like endless mysteries so much as things that you're just either interested in or you're not, and the second season kind of announced like an intention for the show in a way, but like the way they would talk about coming back for a third season was always like, we'll do it, we'll be back before too long, but not like you often hear with a show this successful where it's like, even Pluribus, which is another expensive show that is going to be back at date ? Even that, the announcement about the second season, and I think even further than that, like the commitment to the idea that this show is going to come back and we're going to see this story through. I feel like with Pluribus it was even kind of clearer, whereas with Severance it always has felt like, behind the scenes Ben Stiller's gonna not want to do this forever, or this production company's didn't sign on to do this thing just for year after year with all this escalating cost. So I think that it sounds like really what this is it's cementing two things. One is it's cementing the future plan for the show, which is now definitely going to go through season 4 and possibly more, as you said, Steve, spinoffs and such. But also it's part of this Apple TV Plus, like, beginning to take on it's Apple Studios expanding, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. It's like this idea that Apple Studios is now, I think it's about half of their slate or maybe a little bit less than half of what's on the streamer is produced by Apple. So the idea that they're going to have, it's going to be more under their control, which is going to help with certain things that I think were problems. I mean, again, I haven't looked into all the details, but I think that there was a lot of issues with waiting for tax credits and waiting for like the right time to start shooting season 3 based on when 5th season could get the funding to do it and could get the credits lined up and all that sort of thing. There's all kind of things that have to be in place for a show like this to move forward. And like I said, I think a close to 20 million an episode is what's rumored about Severance at this point. So the idea that Apple will be able to float the money to get the show going and keep it going rather than having to wait for the tax credits and having to wait for the money, the way that that fifth season, which is, it's weird saying fifth season as the name of the company because we're talking about a 4-season show, so it sounds contradictory there, but fifth season is just the name of the production company,
right?
So yeah, I guess I didn't realize before reading into this that Apple did have this kind of deal going with some of its shows, but it makes sense that they have, like, I think the Deadline article compared it to prior to this, Apple TV Plus, like an Audi company has been producing the show, and that going forward, and any company will be producing the show. So really, it just means, it's a more firm plan, which it is weird. Like, I did think it was strange that we were getting this far from the end of season 2, and we hadn't heard anything yet really about Severance season 3. And now the plan is to start shooting this upcoming summer. I mean, obviously that's a lot later than a lot of people would hope the show would be coming back. It'll probably be back, I guess, next year sometime, probably at that rate. But yeah, it's nice to know they have some kind of a plan.
Yeah. Good news.
Yeah. I mean, it's good news in a sense for both parties. If you care at all about Apple Studios kind of owning their shit, then this is kind of a cool move. And then if you care about just knowing when your favorite, favorites on that show, Adam Scott and all the rest, all the others.
All those other ones.
All those other people whose names elude me. Well, I can think of Zach Cherry, but I was trying to remember what's the name of the actress who plays Hilly or Helly.
Is it Bree something?
Well, anyway, she'll be back too, and then Trammell Tillman. Seems like that show does have a lot going on that people care about, but I don't know. Isn't it weird? Like, that's a show that I definitely know people who are passionate about it, but I wonder, did it spill over the critical mass that a show like this normally does? I mean, I feel like it's still kind of strange that it's like kind of bubbling underneath almost, it seems, the kind of mass recognition. Do you think that has to do with Apple TV Plus just as a service? It hasn't quite yet become one that, like I said before, that everybody has.
That, and I think, I think they have some pride in the, if you know right now. Like that, there's something kind of cool about that. Once it's going to bubble up, it's going to get a little more popular. But right now, while it's in this kind of in-between state, I think they take great pride in random memes and half people not knowing what it is, and then that leading to somebody watching it and falling in love with it. They're like, who's this black dude dancing in the middle of it? It's like that stuff is becoming kind of meme culture is bringing in tons and tons of people, and TikToks, and stuff's really cool. Seeing how it unfolds, but ideally critical mass is what they want, but I feel like people feel like, I have the phone already. You've won. I can't figure out what that is that they've done to people, but it's like, fuck you. I have the phone. Okay. All right. Now you want me to buy something else? There's like a population of people that are kind of like that about Apple stuff.
Yeah.
I was just seeing this. Apparently, they lost money on season 2. Fifth season did, the production company. So again, I think that can tell you right there. They just need a larger entity to foot the bill for the show. Yeah. And at this point, I guess we can assume that though a lot has changed in our world, Apple still has a lot of money in the bank. So that is kind of it does sort of just firm up the future of the show. And I think they're a show that likes to go into shooting like with everything locked down. So I think that's why the wait really for cool. for getting to shoot, because they have to have all the scripts like the way they want them before they even start. So it still probably looks like it's going to be like that same 3-year gap. Maybe not quite. Maybe it'll be 2 years from the second season. But I'm glad. I mean, it's one of those shows where I thought season 2 ended in such a way that if for some reason they said, "Oh, that's all the severance you ever get," it felt like something happened in that second season, and they did kind of burn through a lot of story points that I pictured being like the arc of the show. But the fact that they feel like it seems like what's his name? What's the creator's name? Erickson something.
We're definitely on it tonight.
We really are on it. Oh yeah, Erickson. I got it. I could have just said it with confidence.
Dan Erickson.
But Dan Erickson is like the creator of the show, and Ben Stiller obviously is like the name we associate with it at this point. And apparently they don't feel that there's a 5th season in the story that they have in mind. So they might change their mind, which is again ironic. They don't feel there's a 5th season, as in the 5th season of the show, not 5th season, the name of their production company. But I think that's where the spin-offs idea comes in too, is that maybe they would be able to executive produce a spin-off show that Apple might be interested in doing to keep the IP going, but maybe Ben Stiller wouldn't have to be as involved with that. Or maybe it's a matter of just approving those things, and then production teams could be put together so that it could be more of a universe and not just a show that comes back every few years. But I think it's funny. I think we're in an age, I don't know, this is the first time I'm forming this thought, but, IP has been the thing for the longest time.
Right.
And people talk about how IP has been the star of things for a while. I feel like that could shift. And I only say that because I feel you look at big franchises like Star Wars or whatever, where regardless of how profitable they may still be, there's this feeling that a lot of times the studios don't know what to do, don't know what's good, like don't really know what it is that connects with audiences sometimes. So when you see a big thing like Star Wars be something where everybody seems to agree, well, nobody quite knows what to do with Star Wars right now. Even Marvel has that air about it of like, well, they seem like they're trying things over there. Yes. They don't really quite know what to do. So I wonder if we're going to see the crash of that kind of thinking. I mean, I hope it works out for Apple in the end to invest a lot of money and structure into this show. But I do wonder if people have gotten so I don't know, is it that the world is so crazy or that people just get jaded? But there's this thing, Ronald, maybe you can help me form this thought of like, what is it about maybe right now where IP isn't the guarantee that it used to be? Not to say that there isn't IP that hits, as we obviously see with big hits, but like what's happening with IP? Is it losing its pull on audiences? This sense of like a monoculture, and here's the thing you've got to check out, or here's the thing that always brings them in to the theaters. Do you know what I'm? Or brings them to watch.
I'm gonna make a sports comparison.
Good. I won't understand it.
Okay, so during lockdown, there was a documentary called The Last Dance about the Bulls and their triumphant run, 72-10 run. And one of the cool things about it was that it talked about management. And one of the things that management does is it inflates its ego like it was the genius that made a person, rather than just luck. When so the draft happened, there were several people that were great. They picked a guy named Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan wound up doing an incredible amount of stuff. But what would happen whenever there was a challenge, management would come forward and say, "We'll take care of this. We don't need this person. The Bulls are what's special." Yeah. And I think that's capitalist fuck shit that people say, who cannot create anything. Mm-hmm. That's what stupid people who can't create anything say.
I took that class in college, economics class, capitalist fuck shit.
Sorry, hold on.
You got so excited and impassioned.
I got real passionate about that. Sorry, say that again, John.
No, I just said that it was a stupid joke. It's not really worth repeating. But I said that capitalist fuck shit was a college course that I took.
Oh yeah,
economics. Yeah,
but yeah, it's legitimately. It's used as a ploy to make creators feel insignificant when we move the needle. Like there's no people say that there's no new things, and then Severance comes. They say like, oh, there's no good superhero movies, and then fucking Deadpool comes out, and it's like, there's this weird obsession with control in this thing, and people thinking they have the needle on it. And what they need to be honest about is that culture changes on a pretty regular basis, and they have no control over it. the kids and the adults. It's not just kids. People that kind of occupy the internet move the needle a little bit. You know, and people's responses to it.
Yeah.
But there's a bubbling that happens underneath that they're very unaware of. That, you know, it's like a joke. It's like if I make a joke, I say soy sauce kid, you know, and then soy sauce kid is in a movie 2 years later. And people are like, we've been saying that since, you know, 2024. It's like the industry can't keep up with the rate that it changed, that people's opinions and feelings and culture changes.
Sure.
And they cannot admit that. I kind of wish the only person I've ever heard admit that was what's her name? Blumhouse. Like the guy was kind of like, culture changes. Like,
yeah,
a year ago they loved this lady, but this year they don't love this little kid in this movie. It's like,
yeah, that Megan one.
Yeah, it's like
but they also switched it up. I mean, again, I think, you know, there's a lot.
Two things were true at the same time.
Yeah,
honestly, though, that is franchise thinking, though, right? Like what they did with Megan 2 is franchise thinking of, oh, people loved that. Well, let's do this version of it and see if people love that. And then you're like, oh, wait, maybe we misapprehended what it was people loved about the other thing. You know, that's very true.
It's very common for people to try to reconstruct something and they don't understand what makes it special. And I think that part of it is you kind of got to put your ear to the street and pay attention to stuff. So it's like those like TikTok compilations of like, if you watch enough of those, you figure out why people like certain characters. It's like the doughy eyes, the emotion, the weird dick jokes that a person may tell. It's like that stuff you gotta pay attention to, but they don't.
Stop talking about this show, Ronald.
Yeah, man, you gotta have your ear to the street, and I think that they've, you know, it's hard for a 60-year-old person to say I've lost touch, because every 60-year-old isn't out of touch. And there's some people that happen to know that some of it is understanding that you don't understand everything. And that is so anti the ego of this industry that, you know, it's
right. Right. And it may be that thing when you're talking about that point of view, that 60-year-old point of view, it's sort of also like, hey, that worked, let's keep them on the teat, you know, let's keep them, they'll keep coming back for this, we've got them. And they don't always know what it was. I mean, we always talk about like studios kind of learning the wrong lesson about things, you know, like, oh, this is popular, so let's do more of this, and you go, no, that's not the thing that people loved about that, you know. It's just I find it to be interesting and amusing at times, but also kind of, even if it's franchises that I don't really care that much about, or if I like some of my favorite movies are non-franchise type movies, I don't like it when there's no conventional wisdom. You know what I mean? Like when there's no sense of what's going to work. And I do think we are sort of entering into a period where maybe in a few years we'll be able to formulate that answer of like, well, what is, if it's not IP that's the star right now, what is the thing? Or is it just a different generation's IP that's going to be the star? Is that always going to be the answer? Or is it sometimes IP and sometimes it mutates into something a little bit different? Because I mean, I just feel like right now it's hard to imagine anything, like culturally, it's hard to imagine anything taking anything by storm the way that those franchises have in the past, or the way that, like, when you have that big show that everyone's talking about, it's hard to imagine anything, especially anything that I love, like sweeping across the aisle, so to speak, and getting like just a mass audience that isn't like sort of divided along weird lines of again, the culture war stuff that's going on right now. It does feel like it's impacting that idea of how big can the biggest thing be? How big can the biggest show be at this point?
And so the counter, that whole like, are there any more stars? I don't know if that argument, I'm starting to soften it on that. Like, there are stars. They're just ones that the older generation doesn't understand. It's like, Timothy Chalamet is a fucking star. Like, he is a nonstop star. And he doesn't. It's not as palatable to everybody. You can't just I can't explain it in one sentence why he is as hot as he is right now. But if you look on the internet, there are enough people that are kind of being like, he's funny,
Yeah.
he's great in things. Are they gonna see every shitty movie he's in? No.
Right.
They're smarter than that. That doesn't mean. I think people think that because somebody's a star, that means that they're going to follow them through a ball of fire. That's not what that means. People are smarter than that now. Like, they want to be more discerning about their taste and their spending habits.
Right.
So I don't think that that's going to happen again. No. And you're right. The culture wars are kind of fragmenting. So if Timothy Chalamet says everybody is America, then Timothy Chalamet has lost 50% of his audience. His woke ass is, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
that didn't happen before. You know, it was like kind of like. So
Well, I mean, what it's the thing is, what's going to happen with anything like that is Timothy Chalamet is going to put a movie out,
Yeah.
and then Kid Rock is going to put out an alternate version of that movie for idiots.
and it'll get a fourth or maybe a tenth of the people watching it.
I love the idea that the Kid
they'll end
Rock's
up
just out there working on reactionary alternate versions of everything. You know, it's like, Kid Rock, can you give us an alternate version of this sandwich that's not so woke? And he's like, well, we're working on it. God, I was just kidding, but what is the most woke sandwich, I wonder?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's
Listeners,
definitely
maybe
vegan.
you can write in.
It's vegan for sure.
It's got to be vegan.
Gotta
right?
be vegan. Because oh jeez, don't get me
Like, I'm trying to
started
think of, like, what sandwich could I order to make someone go, no, listen to this woke asshole.
woke. Fucking.
When I was growing up in the 80s, it would have been something with bean sprouts for sure, because that was sort of like a joke, you know. It was like, you want bean sprouts? Oh, what are you, from California? But no, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to picture anybody cracking it right now, right? Anything that cracks the code. I'm trying to think of what's the most universally beloved thing right now. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what's the thing that, you know, that I would have thought that it was football that still was the main thing that reached across the aisle. And I think that, like, you know, we found out recently that no, there's some people who will take their toys somewhere else and play somewhere else. You know,
I still think it's Taylor Swift and Beyonce. I mean, those still are the figures. Neither one of them have just shown up in Trump's office. So it's like, you know what I mean?
But also neither one has, like, openly like that's one thing. In fact, it's a criticism point for those artists, as people say, why aren't you more vocal? And it's like, maybe 10 years from now, it'll seem shrewd to have not been vocal. But I think we're right now at a point where being vocal feels like the bare minimum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess I'm guilty on my side of liking when people do the thing that I don't like when people on the other side do. Which is like when they bring politics into it. But I do think it's hilarious when an entertainer who talks about politics, like Bill Maher, criticizes entertainers for talking about politics.
Yeah.
You know, or when
it's
people who voted 3 times for a reality show host to be president, when those people say, why are you listening to entertainers? You know,
this happened, you know, it was really interesting. So Logan Paul is walking on the red carpet. They're like, Logan, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? All he said was no, right? And left. His brother posts the most weird racist paragraph. And then Logan's like, I don't agree with any of the stuff my brother said. And I actually love diversity. I love, you know, it's interesting, man. It's
what was that thing about, I think, whichever one was they both seem like jerks to me. But
They're
whichever one
both
is the bigger jerk said called I think called Bad Bunny a fake American, or called Puerto Ricans fake Americans. I think that was the line
the
that
boxer.
the other
that's
idiots
Jake Paul.
had to say, I'm not that much of an idiot.
Yeah.
I know that these people are real Americans, you know.
That's Saudi money. That's the WWE. That's Logan Paul. Logan Paul's the bigger star. He's a full-time wrestler now, which is crazy. And he's actually incredible. He's actually an incredible wrestler. But they're like athletic assholes that just say and do whatever the fuck they want. But it whatever.
And then they get their bell rung occasionally by a real fighter.
Yeah, for real. Just a kid. So the hand of God will come and kick one of their asses from time to time.
You love to see it.
You love to see it. You love to see it.
I like the idea that God has something against the Paul brothers. I think that's a comforting thought.
I like the idea that when Jake Paul was about to fight that guy, he said, "I'm going to break your spirit," and he said, "Only God can do that." And he said, "I knew you were going to say that." And then he punched him so hard that he went, "Whoa!" And
well, he gave him an opportunity to see God for a minute.
He did.
And check in and see if that's still God's policy.
Crazy.
But yeah, culture wars are crazy for all of this. And I wonder about how it's going to affect, I mean, so many things. It's like I worry about those studio heads getting it in their mind that they have to go one way or the other to please this or that, or shutting things down that might have been cool before or whatever. Right now, it still seems like most of the people who are taking control of these things are people that have their hearts in the right place. But you know, it would start to feel really sickening if you started to feel that again, I'm not saying that the stuff that I love is woke. I think that whenever I use woke, it's got air quotes on it. Like it's not really a word that I don't really. Well, I used to love it. Like when white people first stole woke from black people.
That's
a few years ago, people used it correctly.
Yeah, for sure.
Which means you have become aware of how systems are aligned against us.
Yes.
And you are acting in the world with an awareness of these things, and that's a very valid thing. But now it means: is there a woman in it? Is there a man? Is there a black person in it? Is there a gay person in it? Like that's what makes something woke. You know,
is there anybody that's not white in it?
Yeah, right. It's the example I always give is when the Force Awakens marketing started to come out, and it had Daisy Ridley and John Boyega front and center, and people saw it and said, "I can't believe they're pushing this agenda down my throat." And I looked at the poster and I was like, "What fucking agenda? The Jedi agenda? What agenda are you talking about that's being shoved down your throat?" But like that, that was before woke became their pet word. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now it's like, oh, they can just say woke, woke. But I fear studios thinking they have to go anti-woke in order to please certain people, because I feel like we've been living through a nice era where most of the big franchises were at least convinced for a time that being progressive or seeming progressive was part of the game, was part of getting audiences. So I hope that we don't start to see the erosion of the imaginary concept known as woke. In terms
that's how
of
that church studio is getting all big. What's that church studio that makes all the like anti-woke stuff but winds up still being woke?
I don't know. I mean, I know those movies.
They really act like it's like, oh no, we don't do any woke. It's like they had one where the girl.
Is it Angel Studios?
Yes, where the girls got kidnapped, and then when you watch it, it's like there's some powerful messaging in this that could be perceived as woke. I don't know why they're acting like they're anti-woke, but this is very strange that they're. Yeah.
Well, anytime someone's anti-woke, you just ask them to define woke.
Yeah.
And you'll find that either they don't have a definition, or they're just trying to avoid saying what we just said. Anything with a woman in it, anything with a person of color in it, and anything with a different gender idea or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Classic 50 Cent. So 50 Cent made fun of Ja Rule for singing. He was like, "You're terrible. You singing because you're not supposed to sing. You're a rapper." And then he got him out of there. And then what did 50 Cent do? He started singing. And that's what's weird. It's like somebody appears to be anti something, and then they aren't at all.
And then you go and you make a 4-hour documentary about what a piece of shit P. Diddy is. I think is the next step.
Yes. And then your cohorts get in an argument with Ja Rule on the plane randomly.
These are highly specific examples.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, yeah, I don't know. That was a fun little tangent off of the Severance news. Did we have anything else from a news standpoint that we wanted to get into? Oh, the passing of James Van Der Beek, which happened just yesterday. I was a little older than I think the target audience of Dawson's Creek was, but I knew people that watched it. But definitely, I feel like a lot of my friends who are like within that 8 to 10 years younger than me, it seems like the show was much more impactful because of when it hit them. Like
that would be me, for sure.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe talk a little bit about this. Like, I know James Van Der Beek has popped up in a few things over the years, but we've known for the last little while that he was sick. This is horribly sad that he, I think the last public posting he had, it was sort of I'm going to take the winter to get better, and I'll be back in the spring, and I'll be strong, and very optimistic outlook. And then he, we lost him just a couple days ago. So how did that hit you pretty hard, Steve?
Yeah, actually, I mean, like, I feel like over the last number of years beyond the diagnosis, I don't know that I've aligned, and seeing more of people on social media is not always a good thing for people that you used to like.
Yes.
Because, they come out and start saying things that you realize you don't agree with, and you're like, I don't know if I can support this person anymore. I would say he started to fall into that prior to even having this diagnosis.
With like anti-vax stuff.
Yeah, he was super anti-vax.
Yeah, all that stuff was not sitting well with me. I mean, some of his approach to family, like I definitely saw a lot of his stuff, and I think some stuff that he said came from the right, like a positive place, but it came off wrong to me. And the anti-vax stuff was a big red flag for me. So, I mean, that being said, like, I don't, you don't want to see this happen to really anybody, like, we can disagree on this, but to see, this guy's married, he has 6 kids, this is 2 years ago, he gets this diagnosis and he's gone. This is something insane, and you don't want to see this happen to anyone. But yes, it for sure hit me pretty bad. I mean, I feel like the time that Dawson's Creek came out, even some of the movies that he was in the late 90s and early 2000s, Varsity Blues, Rules of Attraction.
Rules of Attraction was one I liked a lot.
Right, yeah. I mean, these movies have definitely had a place in my history, but Dawson's Creek for sure was a like foundational show for me, like introducing me to actors and actresses that were of my generation, that was right in the spot of me being in high school when these characters were in that age. Everybody in that show was relatable to me. I had, people I could draw connections to in real life to them. But yeah, I mean, that show, Kevin Williamson being involved in that, he was a big part of my high school, college age because of that, and Scream. There was just a lot of like spin out from that show for me. And, it just holds a really special place in my heart and my, my love for TV, cinema, whatever you want to call it. But it's a very special show to me. And yeah, for Dawson Leary to be no longer, the character's there, but I mean, the guy who played him is like, it's a hard thing to hear. And I mean, even like you said, John, seeing the optimism, they had that benefit show in New York that the whole cast got back together to be with him and to do a reading, and he couldn't go because he was, sick and he was ill. That was also really sad that he couldn't even be there. And I don't know, it just is all so sad. And I can say all that and still say that how I started this, like, there's things I definitely didn't agree with this guy about, but it's a very sad thing to see happen.
Yeah.
For every reason I said. But yeah, Dawson's Creek was huge. I like that. Again, I love Varsity Blues. Rules of Attraction is definitely one of my favorites. And he also kind of was like, people like loved that. I think we talked about it before in the show, and even in personal life and friends, like his run on Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 was great.
I was going to mention that. A lot of people love him for that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a turn where it's like, you're so serious, you maybe have a reputation and you're really playing into that and just being a complete ass, and people you play into what people maybe think about you, which I really appreciate it. And I thought that his run on that was very funny, and that show was really funny. But yeah, man, very sad. I feel for that whole group that was a part of that show, that I'm sure are going through it for sure, with his family and friends. But yeah, very sad to hear about his passing.
I guess without getting too maudlin, because the person I'm about to speak about would not like it if I got maudlin. But speaking of losing people, any of my friends, if anybody listens from Birmingham, Alabama, we know that this last week we lost a really cool guy who was very kind of quietly important in a huge community of folks in Birmingham. It's a guy named Greg Lowry, who died this last week. Who the reason I mentioned him on this show is because he was one of those people, and occasionally I've heard people talk about this, and I didn't really realize until Greg died that I knew I had these people that kind of sit on that council of taste in your mind, who, like, once you meet this person and they influence you. Sure. And I think that's the word I was looking for when I first thought about this, because Greg was a friend of mine, and he was kind of a mentor in some ways. Like, he was a few years older. He was like 9 years older than me, but he met me when I was he worked at a bookstore that I loved in Birmingham, and then he worked at a record store that I loved in Birmingham. And when he opened his record shop called Noise, he brought me on. I think I was, if not his first employee, one of his first employees, and we always had a really special friendship. But he opened like a really cool record store back in it was like 99 or 2000. Must have been 98 or 99. And he just had immaculate taste, and like they decorated. It was a really cool store. It was like the first time I'd ever seen DVDs. He was like the guy who like said, "Oh no, check these out." Like, I saw he would play stuff for me, and I would see the special features and see all the stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I got to check out these DVDs." He was just one of those guys, who culturally set me on the path of so many things that I love, like and recommend, like those people who can recommend shit to you, and you check it out, and you're like, "Oh my God, where's this been my whole life?" Like the Zombies. We've talked about the Zombies on this show. He got me the Zombies box set, and that was like a band I had not heard much before, and other bands that I love, like Belle and Sebastian. I could keep just naming things, but I mean, like, he's just one of those people. So an influence, and kind of those people who like you when you're younger than somebody and they think you're cool and they kind of prod you along. There's something that you cannot replace that. You cannot manufacture those people who you just meet and they take a shine to you and you glom onto them and then they influence you. I mean, it's just, there's such a thing as having an influence. And I mean, honestly, it's a few days into it, I started realizing, like, oh man, I'm having all these heavy feelings. We didn't talk as often as we could have. We occasionally would be in touch via social media, and I always thought, well, I'm going to think a lot about this in light of the heartbreaking statement that Macaulay Culkin made after Catherine O'Hara died recently. And I think about these words a lot. He said, "Mama, I thought we had more time." That's the way I felt about Greg. I mean, that's like every time I would get into Birmingham, it wasn't like every time I tried to get in touch with him, but like I always had it in my head. We tried a couple times and it just didn't work out. But like one of those people who I was just sure we were going to get a chance to catch up and compare notes again. And alas, I and many people that are dear to me were all robbed of that. That person who you could just pick up a conversation with at any time, and it sucks to know that you'll never have that again. But also, just you realize there are some people who just affect your life, and you don't get to, the older you get, the more you realize those people who came before you and kind of opened the door to you a little bit. Like I said, you can't manufacture that. You can't replace someone like that. So anyway, and I want to say this, like, the funny thing about Greg is I can remember him agreeing with me as much as disagreeing with me. He was one of those people that would tell you that new band you love sucked, or that you even sometimes even my music, he would be very honest with me about something. I would send him something I had done and he would be like, "You knew I wasn't going to like that, didn't you?" But like, not,
you knew that going in.
Right. But he wasn't like a pointless contrarian. He could sometimes be very opinionated, but he was one of those people who you trusted his opinion because he wasn't sunshine and roses and he wasn't Pollyanna about stuff. And I don't know. I just I wanted to talk about Greg in that light because I really do think like there have been choices on this show. Definitely some of my required viewing picks. I'm sure a few of them are things I would have never thought of if I hadn't been put on the case by Greg. But beyond that, I was just going to ask you guys, can you relate to that idea? I mean, when I was saying this, were people going through your mind of people in your life who sort of had that effect on you? Like, just influences. Those people, I think it's kind of something I don't think about that much. It's like I don't have a big brother, and my big sister, who's a couple years older than me, she was very, like, taste-wise, we were just very different. So it's not like she was introducing me to all these things that weren't crossing my path in other ways. So it's like I think about those people who kind of put me on the case of certain things and introduced me to things, and I just think that's really. It's a special thing to have in your life, and it's awesome and wonderful. But it's also very sad when you realize that a light like that can leave the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, immediately not so much with film specifically, but definitely with music. Growing up, having one of my teachers in high school, before I got into anything besides like just vocals, like I was in all the choirs and things like that, and sang in school and in church and things growing up. But like in high school, I really got kind of more serious about it because the teacher that I had, Mr. Henson, who I mean, sadly, I mean, bad timing. He's doing not great with I think dementia or Alzheimer's right now. Mm-hmm. But because my brother kind of keeps in touch with him because he had him as well, and it was a similar influence on him. But yeah, just like that kind of person that kind of influenced taste a little bit. I mean, I always had my own take on things, but definitely was a big influence on me, and also just beyond the taste of music or like interest in eye-opening things was just like just extremely encouraging to try things, because I was always like a very shy, I'm a weird mix of things, I think, and I know, like, I'm a very open person and I can talk to people and I'm a very good talker and I'm not like a shy closed off person like that. But when it came to music and singing and things like, of that nature, more of a performative type deal, I was very much like that. And, that teacher was someone who opened me up. And by doing that, it opened me up to like a lot of things with music, types of music that I never would have listened to. And, I don't know. So like, he's the first one that comes to mind for me, and because he was encouraging, he was honest, like you were talking about your guy, and like, and he was like very open with just like, not just the honesty, but like open with listening to me, and and honestly just being being honest as a teacher, I don't know where that like a music teacher is a kind of a different breed in a high school setting. An arts teacher in general is kind of a different breed in a high school setting, which is why I believe they're so important, because he was probably one of the most influential teachers I've ever had. Beyond any subject or content or anything. Like, I think because there's just like real human openness that is like beyond a book, beyond something that you can feel. And like, that was that, Mr. Henson was that, or is that still for me, and always was. But yeah, I don't know. He's the first one that came to mind when you started describing your friend.
Right. I mean, I think what you're describing there is very unique to what I'm talking about, because of that idea that like, it's flattering that a person takes an interest in you, and like all that other stuff just comes along with that kind of integrity. Like, if someone can be honest with you, in some ways it's a real compliment that someone can be honest with you, even if they're saying something that might sound critical or that might have to push you in a direction or something like that. And it doesn't mean you always go along with it. It just means that you have a person whose voice you kind of trust
100%.
Because they don't blow smoke up your ass. Yeah. What about you, Ronald? Anybody come to mind as like an influence or a mentor in that way?
Unknowingly.
Aside from me, you don't have to say it.
He didn't know though. Like, so this is a little hard for me. So, my grandmother used to name some kids in our family. One of them was Road Runner. Babel was another one. Umbu. And my cousin's name was Tuna. And Tuna was he was my fuck. He's my cousin's older brother. He was murdered at the end of 2024.
I remember this when you and some of our other mutuals, I believe, were posting about this.
So what he did for me was an astronomical amount of stuff. So I didn't have any older brothers. So my dad was really anti-style. And anything over $40 on my feet or anything like that was ridiculous. Now, and I have my cousin Tuna.
I still agree with your dad, but it's a topic for another day.
Anything. And so, my cousin, he had all a nice Air Max, and he dressed really well. And he kind of spoke a certain way. Like it was very strange. And he introduced me to hip hop. And A Tribe Called Quest, Nas, Illmatic. Because of him, I purchased my first 2 hip hop albums. He had this, and because I never told him this, and I feel awful because I never told him this, but he's the reason why I started my clothing line.
Oh, wow.
He was the blueprint for me. He had the style, he had the and I never got to tell him.
Right.
And it breaks my heart. But
do you reckon he would have known on some level? I mean, honestly, not to get woo-woo about it, but I just mean, like, do you think on some level he would have sensed? Do you think he sensed in you the seeds that he planted, or do you think he was completely unaware?
He was arrogant enough that if he thought about it hard enough, you know what I mean?
He would have had to know.
He would have had to know, but he probably didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, because he was the only person around me that was like stylish like that.
Yeah.
And my cousin's still heartbroken about it.
Sure.
We have to live in a place where it happened within a mile or so of, and it feels weird that I never got to. He's the reason why I play video games.
Yeah.
He used to come,
which is my favorite thing about you.
Yeah. Thank you. He used to come in from school, fuck us up in video games, and then go to sleep. Like it was just a thoughtless thing that he would just demolish us in any video game he played and then go to sleep. It was so ruthless for a kid to just school books, put them down, beat your ass, go to sleep.
That's like the equivalent of like when I walk through, and if I see one of my cats is just kind of sitting on the edge of a table, just kind of screwing around, and I kind of pop him with my hand and knock him off the table, and I just keep walking. It's like, just remind him every now and then.
You gotta
somebody
let him know,
that there is a higher power in this world.
Yeah, you gotta assert your dominance. Yeah, so rest in peace, Tuna, man.
That's amazing. That's a perfect example. Both those are great examples, because I do think sometimes with a teacher, it's not always a teacher that's going to have that effect on you. Some teachers will. I can think of 2 or 3 that fit that category, and one in particular who died a couple years ago, and I was a similar thing of just feeling like shit. I thought we had time. I thought we were going to sit down and have that heart to heart over coffee or beer or whatever one day, and it just didn't happen. And so I guess maybe if there's a lesson here, it's let people know. I mean, I think these people. The reason I asked if you thought your cousin knew Ronald, though, was because I do think on a certain level we might underestimate in those situations that it's a two-way street. You know what I mean? Right. Like, so often I kick myself for not reaching out to somebody, and then I stop and go, oh wait, they didn't reach out to me either. And not like in a vindictive way, but like life went on and I still held them in my heart way. So there's no reason to think they wouldn't feel the same way. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing, especially the older you get. You see those opportunities to pay respect to somebody as a much more serious thing.
Definitely.
It doesn't mean it has to be a heavy conversation. It just means if anyone out there is listening and there's that person that you haven't texted in a while or you haven't called in a while. I mean,
Let
honestly,
them know.
it's and there's no harm. There's no harm in letting them know. There's no shame in saying to somebody, "You had an effect on me." You know.
Yeah. I was gonna say something too, man. So like the James Van Der Beek thing was a little weird for me because the anti-vax thing bothered me. But
Yeah.
man, I've been thinking about this a lot. Love should be it. Like it's like I don't agree with most people, but that doesn't mean that I don't love them.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I can't find a place in my heart to think about a thing that we connected on.
Yeah.
Because it's not just Trump or anti-vaccine, or people forget that stuff because it's so emotional and it has to do with life. You know what I mean? It's like it's a value thing, right? But you got to remember that there are other things that you bonded over. You can't just throw people away. And I think it's just important to put love first, because I was looking at Alfonso Rivero. I didn't realize he was that close to James Van Der Beek, man. He was like there when he passed away.
Yeah.
He was like in his arms.
A lot of people, like Stacy Keebler, I saw, was posting something that she was with him the last few days. Yeah, I guess it just was like we know it's about to happen, and we want, maybe he wanted to.
Is it Dancing with the Stars? I was trying to think of the connection. I was like, what?
Oh, that's true, actually.
Yeah, I was like, Stacy Keebler danced.
That's true.
So
and Alfonso, yeah, you're right.
And they must have bonded then, man. Like,
you might be right.
Yeah. House of Tiger, Stacy Keebler.
That's right.
I gotta say that.
Don't forget it.
Since we've come back around to James Van Der Beek, I'll say the one thing that's so weird, all the tributes to him that I've seen in the last couple of days, the one thing that I remember him for is in an interview, he referred to himself as having a big cereal box shaped head.
So good.
And I do too. And so I've always felt like I've used that analogy. The idea that you have like a head that's like tall and kind of thin, because he was just talking about his head like on a big screen. How he was making some reference to seeing his big cereal box shaped head up there. How awkward it is for him.
That's hilarious.
But I've always loved that descriptor, and I have used that on myself several times. When someone's like lining up a shot, or when someone is saying, "Hey, can you put your head down?" And I'm like, "Shit, I do have a big old cereal box sitting up here." At least there's a prize inside. But no, I guess James Van Der Beek is an interesting note to end on after all that stuff we just said about mentors and influences. But yeah, the people that affect you, I don't know, it's just something you can't predict how that's going to go, and it takes time. And the whole thing of like, maybe now there are relationships forming that will feel like that. But I know the main thing is like, and I think this is just true of anybody, like you've got to have friends. You got to be open to those friendships that are a little bit outside your peer group, or a little bit outside people that are just in your class, or the year before, or the year after, or whatever. You got to have those, younger and older. I think it's very healthy to have those connections, because it keeps you alive in a lot of ways, but also it's very validating in some ways to have people who don't share all your reference points, but they still see where you're coming from.
Oh man, that's the best.
And I guess as I get older, I will have to look to younger people for that, but it's really like you can't account for that when somebody kind of takes an interest and says, "Oh, hey, you'd like this," or "Hey, will you come work at my record shop," or whatever thing it was.
I have two brothers that invite me to go to the movies. We argue like shit, man. I don't fucking have the same taste they have, and we argue, but I love them. Like I don't know what I'd do without them. And they helped me at a very pivotal time of my life. Like I was like 19, trying to figure out what the fuck I wanted to do. Right. And I started testing video games. And these two brothers, the Davis brothers, these obnoxious, they kind of had their own language. They had lost their mom a couple years before that. And I always remember them referring to their mom, and they still do, in a way that feels very current. I love the way they talk about their family. It's another story for another day, but yeah, they video games and movies. That's what we talk about, and I argue with them so much, but it's like you guys. Like I don't know what I'd do without you guys.
Yeah. Honestly, when you said there's these two brothers that I go see movies with, I was just like, well, hey, you don't have to talk about us like we're not here. But no, honestly, I mean, this is a good example of that. This is something where, in fact, just last night, I always find this uncomfortable when I'm in public and people started asking me about podcasting. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just don't want to be like the spokesperson for it. But the subject of someone I know who was trying to put a podcast together was talking about it. And then they brought up movie Schmovie and they looked on their phone and they were like, damn, there's a lot of episodes of this. And I'm always like, yeah, this is, it does sneak up on you. But this is a perfect example of the kind of thing where like, it was a little thing. You guys were like, oh, we like talking to you about movies. You want to come do an episode? Let's do this thing. And then literally here we are 12 years on from that. And this has become like one of the great running features of my life, like outside of just keeping my family together, right, and keeping everybody happy under this roof, and keeping my pets healthy or whatever. Right. Once you get outside of that basic, like these are the hierarchy of needs. One of the things that has been a constant for me has been movie Schmovie, and I don't watch anything that I don't think at least I run it through the filter of, I wonder what Ronald and Steve are going to think about this. If not, sometimes going, oh man, Steve is going to eat this up, or Steve's going to hate this. But it's that thing of knowing someone's taste, but not always knowing. Like people surprise you. You guys surprise me sometimes, but I do think like that intimacy, it's not something I was looking for, and yet it's something that now I lean on, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just to end on a funnier note, just because this has been cracking me up since it happened, we were in the middle of moving a bunch of shit, my wife and I, this last weekend, and so there were a lot a lot of those intense discussions you have when you're mounting like a project with your wife. And so Nikki at one point sensed that I was getting a little heated about something, and she came over to me and in all seriousness, like I think she was trying to quote Black Widow when she's calming down the Hulk, sun's getting real low, big guy.
Yeah.
But she didn't mean to make a joke. This is what made it so great. She looked at me in the eye and kind of put her hand on my chest, and she said, "Come to the sun, big boy."
I think I like that one better.
I've been saying it nonstop ever since she said it. Like if anything gets even remotely like tangled between us, I'm like, hey, come to the sun, big boy.
Damn, that's good.
That's really good.
Like,
that's better than
for one thing, big boy. You're gonna call me big boy? Like that's one thing if like a guy like an aggro guy in public calls me hoss or big guy or something, that's like you tense up. That's fighting words. But when your wife calls you big boy, but no, come to the sun, big boy. It's also perfect because if you deploy it with a straight face, it's just it's great when you realize with your spouse, like, oh gosh, here's a new inside joke. This is going to last for a long time.
Yeah, that's good, man.
I love it. What do we got left? We got to get the required viewing.
Yeah, we got to get required viewing.
I guess we can just do that and wrap this up, man. This is it's going well. It's going well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ronald, get us into this. Tell us about your pick. Remind us. Kick it off.
So the movie that I've chosen is the 2025 remake of the movie Dutchman that came out in 1967, but this one was written by Andre Gaines and Kasim Basir. Andre Gaines also stars in this movie as the main character Clay. He's going through a situation where his wife cheats on him.
Well, it's Andre Holland. It's a different guy.
Oh yeah. I don't know why I did Andre. Yes, it is a different person.
I was like, hold on a second. That's the guy who wrote it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know why. So Andre Holland stars in this.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty crazy cast, man. Zazie Beetz, Kate Mara. what's his
Aldous
name?
Hodge.
Yeah,
Aldous Hodge.
Alex. Yeah, and
I
the
love him.
Stephen. What's the psycho?
McKinley Henderson.
Yeah, who's also great. But essentially, what happens is he's going through a situation where his wife cheats on him. He's spiraling, and he runs into this beautiful woman who is like, "Yeah, I'm trying to do some things to you," but the energy is so out of this world intense that he doesn't believe that it's real, and he doesn't know the motives behind it. And there seems to be some racial implication behind it too. Like, it's a lack of trust because there's been some situations where you got to be careful with who you're dating, who's around you when you're dating someone, or people's motives. Sometimes the fetishization of other races and things like that.
Right.
So it just is. It's a lot of questions that happen, and Kate is coming at him. Kate's character, Lula, is coming at him with a lot of sexual energy, and eventually he gives into it, and it creates this like spiral of, what have I done? Did I do the right thing? What is happening?
Right.
And then she gets chaos ensues. I don't really want to even give away what the threat that comes about, but it just gets really crazy.
Chaos ensues.
Chaos ensues.
The classic chaos ensues.
Yeah. Condoms ensue. Yeah. So it's one of those movies that really could split the room, but I'm actually very, very glad that I watched it. And I can honestly say that I didn't hate it. It feels like it's trying to tackle a bunch of things. And one of the things that seems to be at the heart of it is this duality that exists within Black people. The idea that there's like the like front facing self of a person versus who you really are. Basically like the armor that you have to put on in the world versus who you come inside, who you are inside. Which is, it's a real thing. Was this handled well in the context of this script? Shoulder shrug emoji. It's a lot of ideas kind of thrown in there. And I think some of it is just implied. Like, if you've experienced this, you should know how some of this is. I don't have to, it's not a lot of explaining some of the scenarios where somebody should be looking at in the screen like, see that happens to me. I can see somebody being like, this is very triggering. And it was very triggering for me in some parts. Specifically college, man. College felt like an especially weird time for race relations as it were, because a lot of people, I may have been the first Black person that they've talked to intimately, rather than just like on a high and by, you're telling feelings about things, and people get tipsy and start sharing things that are a little, okay, all right, I didn't know you felt like that about Black people. I didn't know you had always wanted to see a Black penis. I didn't know that was a thing that you.
Well, we talked about it on this show at one point. I can't remember what movie we were talking about, but I asked you if white people were always weird with Black people. Because there was some movie we watched where it was so much about that, about how weird white people are with Black people. Maybe it was Get Out that we were talking about it. And you informed Steve and I that we're pretty good guys and that we're about as not weird as you can be. But
that's how we bonded.
But that white people are always weird with Black people.
Always.
Like there's always a weirdness to it. And I mean, it's like, so that's always been kind of stuck in my mind as one of those things of like, it was like a little bit of it's cool to be reminded, honestly, that like, not like it's. I will say this. I bet a lot of white people are weird with good intentions. I'm not trying to make excuses for racist dog whistles or anything. I'm talking about the people who are just a little bit weird. I think a lot of people are weird because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we make a joke about the Bradley Whitford character saying I would have voted for Obama a third time, like that's become like a cliche of like the over performative white ally. But I also think there's a lot of people who would have sincerely said that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the question of I can only imagine, but I can somewhat imagine even from the outside, the question of being a black person and saying, yeah, but why do you feel like you need to tell me? Like, why did you rush to tell me that you would vote for Obama a third time? You know, and I think that's an important thing for any white person to keep in mind, or any man to keep in mind about stuff to do with you know, feminism and things like that. It's like, you might be right that you conceive of conceiving yourself as an ally, but you're still not like, you don't get to invite yourself to that designation. It's really not something to think about. It's just worry about your own behavior and your own relationships, and let other people decide whether you're an ally or whether you're you know, what's the people. A lot of people, I've heard about how people don't like the phrase, like once white people co-opted the phrase "invited to the cookout." I think that's yet another thing that just like woke. It's like, well, shit. Now this has no meaning. Now the cookout's closed. No more people invited. But I just think so. I think that what this movie does, and I don't think overall this movie worked for me very much. But I think the things that worked were exactly this, like the stuff, the micro and macro aggressions that occur in this film. Like, it's a very heightened storyline, and it's a very almost supernatural kind of storyline. But the main thing that really cut like a knife in this film, as opposed to there is an actual stabbing, but the main thing other than that cut like a knife, is that feeling that Kate Mara's character kind of represented whiteness in all of those respects we just talked about. Like someone who is just, I'm offering my opinion. I'm saying this, I'm saying that. I'm inserting myself here. I'm doing this thing here. And the way that she, particularly the way when it became to like sexual manipulation of Andre Holland's character, Clay, it's like really insidious. Like that thing you just said, Ronald, about, someone who's always wanted to see a black penis. It's like, that might sound like just a sexually frank thing to say, or a kink, or what are you fetishizing somebody's race? You know what I mean? Like, that's a weird thing to lay on somebody. And I feel like throughout this movie, Kate Mara's character kind of lays that exact kind of shit on Clay. And he's a very sympathetic character in that sense. I found that she was so annoying as a character that it became a movie about this guy who's got this really annoying woman that won't leave him alone. Like, rather than seeing her, I think the movie treats her like a symbol, or maybe she exists, maybe she doesn't. I don't really know if I've put together the whole story of what's really going on there. Right. But those moments of tension that come from, like, when she forces him to take her to this event where he's going to be speaking on behalf of his friend who's running for office, and like just the way she inserts herself into this situation, and the way nobody there can vibe with her, and she's not meeting the moment. She's expecting everybody else to kind of match her energy rather than matching the energy of the occasion. And those moments, I felt like, well, there's some stuff in here that feels really, really bold and kind of well observed about, I don't know. I mean, maybe even especially like white women, there's this sense of like, well, they're the ones who can do no wrong, you know? And then like this character is like the opposite of that. I think Sinners touched on this with that whole idea of Mary, and with her coming to the juke joint, the question wasn't, is she welcome here? The question is the kind of trouble that she can represent to people 100%. If something goes wrong. Can she even be responsible for the way that she affects the air in the room if something goes wrong? And I think this movie really illustrated that whole idea. And so, I don't know, I feel like that stuff worked well, and there is some good acting in this, but I did find her so difficult to take as either an object of desire, or as like, even when she's kind of tormenting him. There's some moments where it almost feels like a dark comedy, where she's walking around with a sperm-filled condom in her purse, and she's using that to manipulate him. I mean, that was really dark, but there was something slightly comedic about her, or sinister in a kind of like, in another version of this film, this heightened energy would just keep going and going and going. And the way someone like Boots Riley or someone like that might have dealt with this subject matter, it might have been more crazy. But as it is, it's just like, you're kind of left wondering like, wait, what really happened here? Because it also seems like maybe it's like she's an old lady. She's actually not who we think she is. I mean, I feel like there were several different points where I wondered, like, am I just not getting the kind of the plot of this movie, but I feel like the thematics of it, I got, I totally got the idea that like, okay, what she represents to him is this person who is just dangerous to him. Like from the
Maybe
moment
saw the 1966 movie on the screen at one point.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on right now? It's like, yeah. There's a lot of ideas thrown together, and that I think that felt a little like, I really do understand like there's that destructive energy that some people have, where it's like you watch enough, you consume enough Black culture that you get some of it, but there's a lot of nuance to it that she doesn't get. Like she gets the he's an educated man that is dealing with the duality that is like, and then she's like giving him this weird like, don't talk like that. You don't have to talk like that. There's Black people. That all that stuff is like real. It's like real things that people talk about on the internet that are valid, but it almost feels like wrong messenger. That's what it is. Or like the way that she said, "Oh, you don't look like a doctor."
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like,
well, what was crazy then is that then when the people say, "What do you mean by that?" she can't really answer. Like, even this malevolent force who can just hit all these triggers with people doesn't really know how to respond when somebody pushes back. She kind of stammers. The fact that's one of the only points in the movie where she really seems to feel like someone's gotten her is when
she knocked off her balance a little bit.
Like she doesn't know how to answer the question, or she's not prepared. Maybe what it is like she's not prepared to just go ahead and say the racist thing that she's implying.
Right.
But yeah, I found again, and I wondered about that, Ronald, when I was watching it. I was like, this part feels well observed. Like this part of it feels like these are real. She's sort of like, if you went, it's like almost like you take a Reddit, like she's half of her lines feel like responses you could find online. Good comparison that you just made. That right now online, there's somebody posting some racist nonsense, and some of them might not be aware they're doing it. Some of them are aware they're doing it. And the way this character operates, she kind of moves between those two things of like, well, she's just an idiot who doesn't understand how she's coming off. And other times she seems like she's like the devil or a witch or something who's like tormenting this guy in this specific way. And the way that she has him, to me, that's one of the most sinister things I've ever seen. That moment where she basically says, I could say that you raped me,
Yeah.
And like that's such a crazy way to hold somebody in like but I do think at least that buys you the character. Like I totally believed at first. I was like, okay, at this moment I believe that he feels he has no choice but to bring her to this party. And that's when it becomes almost like a Twilight Zone type punishment because he can't really explain to people why he I will say this: he didn't do a good job of explaining himself at any point. That was something that bugged me. Like, did you notice that whenever he would talk to somebody about his therapist, he said he tried to give me something?
Right.
He didn't say he tried to get me to read a play. Because every time he would say he tried to give me something, they would say, "Oh, did you take it? Or what was he trying to give you?" And it's like, you could clear this up, man. You could just say, "Oh, no."
Take the chance to clear this up. Right? Yeah. No, I thought
he wasn't trying to give me medication. He was just he tried to loan me a book. It's like that is trying to give you something. But when you say your doctor tried to give you something, it feels different than that. So I don't know. I felt like that was I think sometimes dialogue in movies where they're trying to produce a sort of philosophical, almost like dreamlike logic, I think sometimes they overdo it with that aspect of like, oh, this is the way he answers that question. There was another line in the film where I felt like he couldn't explain. Oh, I think when he finally does open up to his friend and his sort of estranged, but maybe they're together, wife. In both cases, he could have done a better job of explaining why he brought that woman to the party, but he couldn't do it. I don't know. I get it that that's where your movie is, but sometimes it bugs me when characters don't just say
the logical thing.
The two sentences that anyone would say in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been like, "I don't know this girl. I don't know why he didn't say that." Like he was like,
"I barely know this crazy bitch,"
because it would just stop the movie.
Right.
Stop the movie. That's the answer. I mean, I think I kind of fall in somewhere in between, I guess. Like, I think in general, like, I found it entertaining, at least. But I mean, I think the cast is really what kind of keeps you in it. I mean, even if some of the script doesn't really work or some of the logic, or it feels a little like kind of heavy-handed or forced at times. But I felt like, the performances at least were entertaining enough. I feel like you don't see, I felt like in general, a lot of the people in the movie, I feel like I don't see a lot in movies. Like I kind of had that feeling watching it, where like I haven't seen Zazie Beetz a lot recently. I haven't seen Kate Mara a lot. Andre Holland. I love Aldous Hodge. Like I haven't seen him in much at all.
Right.
Like I know he's got that big series, like the Cross series that he's in. That's probably his big thing. But like all these great actors that are in this film, it's a great cast. But then in general, I kind of stepped back. I was like, what was the last thing I saw them in?
Yeah. I was thinking that with Andre Holland, who I've always liked.
Like, I'll ask you guys, any of those people, what was the last thing you saw any of them in?
The last thing I saw Aldous Hodge in was the Rock movie. The Rock. He was the Hawk.
The Rock. Oh, Black Adam. The Black Adam one.
Which
right?
He was Hawkman.
That's
Black
4
Adam,
years
by the
ago.
way.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it's
he was
crazy.
good as Hawkman. I mean, he wasn't even he didn't get to make much of an impression in that movie, but he was good as Hawkman. I'm trying to think of what. I didn't know this. Andre Holland was born in Bessemer, Alabama, and went to school in Birmingham, so he's a hometown boy.
Oh wow,
there you go.
But I've always liked Andre Holland, and so like I'm trying to think of the last thing I saw him in. I'm scrolling through here, and I'm realizing I
saw him in a movie called Brooklyn Love.
It was Castle Rock, that television show.
How was it?
I love that show.
I think he's in the first season. I like the first season a lot. The second season, I feel like it was not as good. It just
went a little sideways. Yeah,
it has some good stuff throughout, but like I think that the story is better. I generally think horror stories are better when they're small. Once you get to like a whole town of people getting involved, it turns into a different kind of.
But like literally
story.
going through their IMDb, like I'm pulling him up now. Like these are incredible actors and actresses. Like, and they haven't been in like anything. Like.
But you know, Steve, it's interesting
wild.
you mentioned that because I sensed that there was a moment in the movie with Zazie Beetz, and I think it was maybe in one of the therapy scenes, or maybe just one of the scenes where she's having a discussion with Clay. But I thought to myself, "Oh, this acting is better than this dialogue."
Yes, 100% agree. That's what I'm saying. The performance is like the people, it's there, but like something else was not for me. And it's a script. Like I said, you said like it's something else is not right, but it's like. Clearly there's something here, you know, like the maybe I don't know, the pieces are in play, but I don't know. It's fine. Like I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was entertaining. It was an interesting cast, interesting story. And I wasn't familiar with the play or the movie or any of this stuff, but
me either.
So that's kind of perspective. I was reading about it before we were recording the night too, to get some perspective on that. Especially because of the meta-ness of what pops up in the movie.
Yeah.
But it was a fun watch. I mean, it was interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a real play until I did a little digging around.
Yeah, like it just was something where I think Ronald, you mentioned it. Or no, did you mention it was a remake of a movie?
That it was a remake. Yeah,
I had forgotten that because when I saw the footage in the movie of the old movie the first time through, that really threw me. I was like, wow, they did a great job making something look old.
Right.
And you know, it wasn't until you even pointed it out just now that it was like, oh yeah, that's footage from the OG. But interesting. I mean, like, this that kind of thing where it's like I definitely was curious, and especially as it began, and I could see that it was doing something a little bit kind of creepier than maybe I was expecting. I was expecting almost kind of a Fatal Attraction kind of story, but it's got like it does have like I still don't know if I understand quite what was going on in this movie as far as what actually happened. But there seems to be that Clay was given a sort of vision of a possible way that he could destroy his life, and I'm not sure at the end of the movie if he's actually been destroyed or not. But it does have that Twilight Zone energy in that sense of just this is like a nightmare. This is like you're trapped in a cycle that this person has gotten you stuck in because they have a condom of your semen in their purse.
It's a trap.
Is it a little on the nose that she shows up and offers him an apple?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Straight out of the Garden of Eden there?
Yeah, that was so on the nose.
Yeah, that's true.
How come she didn't? There was some continuity problems. She chopped a piece.
Yeah.
And then gave him a whole. I was like, what?
Okay, see, now that's an example of something that was that a continuity error, or was that she had more apples and we just didn't see it? They probably cut a whole scene where she said, "How do you like these apples?" But or was that meant to be like, "Oh, wait, didn't we see her eat part of that apple and now she's offering?" I mean, I wondered if we were supposed to clock that as like a reality breaking moment, or if that was, like you said, a continuity issue, or just something that wasn't meant to. We were just supposed to assume, oh yeah, she's producing apples out of thin air, like she's Bugs Bunny or something. She's got whatever she needs. But yeah, that's an interesting thing, like the fact that she's, and then that reflection moment where we see her in the mirror and she looks different, or we see her behind him and she looks different.
Yeah.
I kept waiting to see a little bit more of an explanation there. And again, I'm not sure that if it happened, I missed it, but
yeah.
But no, thanks for recommending it. It was one that it was nowhere. I had not heard of it, and I'm glad to check it out. And now I'm actually a little curious about the original one, and I'm also curious about the play itself. How meta is the play? You know what I mean? Right. That's the question I have. So, do
they look out into the audience and say, "Hey," like does it get meta on that level? Like I'm like, but it's a weird movie, man.
That's right. Steve's turn. Let me put up my. Oh wait, we have to wait for the cowboy bearded dragon.
Cowboy bearded dragon.
Saddle up. Steve's pick.
I am thinking I'm going to follow this trend of more recent films. Ronald. I picked a more recent one last time. You have a more recent one this time, and I'm thinking of it really because I really want to see Send Help still, and I haven't yet.
Okay.
But I have an opportunity to suggest another movie that Dylan O'Brien is in that I've heard good things about, that came out on PVOD or VOD, I think Hulu actually recently, called Twinless.
Oh,
I've heard some people that like this a lot. So
yes, so I've heard some good things about it. This is plotline: young man grieving the loss of his twin brother joins a support group for twinless twins. And this was kind of a big Sundance winner. Dylan O'Brien is in it. Lauren Graham is in it. I believe James Sweeney, who wrote and directed it, is also the other lead, like the other twin in the film. That if you see the trailer, again, it's available on digital platforms for rental if you want to. It's also on Hulu if you have Hulu for streaming. But yeah, this came out recently in theaters, or back in the, I guess, late fall, early winter, and then is on all the platforms now. It came out in the middle of January, I think, on digital. So the trailer's really good. Looks kind of very unique, very original. And again, and there's a Dylan O'Brien moment happening right now for all of his press for Send Help, and also just I've heard amazing things about the movie and him in the movie. I want to give this one a look. So I felt like you both hadn't seen it, so I thought it was a good choice.
Yeah. No, I've heard people talking about it. Like, it keeps coming up. Like in the last week or two, I've heard 3 or 4 references to it. I guess because people are talking about him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Cool. Cool. What a cool choice.
Very good. Is there anything else you guys want to mention? Anything that you've watched in the last week?
I was gonna watch The Burbs, but I did not watch it yet.
I did watch the first 2 episodes. I'm digging it.
Okay.
I'm digging it.
Well, maybe we can do a segment on it.
Yeah, anything Kiki's in, I'm in. Okay. So it's been pretty fun so far. Aaron's actually watching it with me, so we'll keep up with that one. Maybe talk about that some parts of the way through it. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say I'll take that as a positive recommendation because I hadn't heard anything about it yet. But the cast is seems perfect for this kind of thing. So
fun cast, and she's great so far in it. I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with it. Kind of where they're sticking with and differentiating from the movie. But it looks like it'll be definitely a fun watch. I was going to say I finally got caught up and watched all of up to the point that we're at now recording the. Was it a Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
Night of the Seven Kingdoms, yeah.
Damn.
So good.
Damn, it's good.
So you need to watch it.
Good.
I was so unassuming, like walking into it, and the first episode, I kind of lost Erin real quick. She's kind of like been drifting through House of the Dragon. Even like the way Game of Thrones ended, I feel like I was losing her. Mm-hmm. But like, I was like, I got to stick with it. Like, I'm all about all this stuff, and I got to watch it. And yeah, the two leads, the
so
casting
good.
is fucking perfect.
And it's like it's amazing
so
how
good.
much that works for this, because you would think you've seen enough of this world, but just showing you characters who care about each other and are doing the right thing, and they're part of a story that's containable. Like I wouldn't have said I wanted to see this world without dragons and without all the big larger than life stuff. But when they show you this little sliver, it's like I mean, I think it's down to the acting, but it's not just those two. There's so many great performances.
Oh, I know, yeah.
But those two leads, like how do you do that?
It's magic.
How do you nail it with two leads that both feel so much perfect in their character and have that great chemistry? But also the way the fourth episode ends, Steve, is like
God.
like that the music moment. I won't spoil anything. I will say that they earned that moment. There's Ronald. They don't use the Game of Thrones music, but when they do choose to use it, they earn it so well that it's really like it's really. I mean, honestly, I find it strange how moving I find the show too. This idea of a person who's trying to find their way and like. Kind of a guy who means well, but maybe doesn't have everything going on. It doesn't quite understand what to do, and then he has a friend who can fill in those blank spots for him. And like I've heard it referred to as like it's not a father-son. You know, the lone wolf and cub model is kind of what it is, Ronald, like the way Mandalorian is or whatever. But I heard someone point out, and I think this is a obvious but great thing to point out. This is less of a father-son thing, and it's more of a brothers. Like this is really meaningful. These two people kind of. They really do. There are moments where they're sitting there together, like watching a jousting match, and they both seem a little bit like kids in that moment. Yeah. And then there's other times where they each have to sort of be the more mature one than they have different skill sets, and so they kind of complement each other. And I just think 4 episodes in, it feels like kind of like this is the way for Game of Thrones to move forward is to find characters that we're going to love like this.
Totally agree, man. Yeah, this is a home run so far. I mean, it's crazy that there's only 6 episodes. I kind of got bummed when I realized that for the season, but whatever, I'll take it. But yeah, I was just like, I completely lost perspective on the fact that it was even coming out, fell behind on it, kind of felt some of the buzz growing around it without, I was like, I don't want anything spoiled. So I got to get caught up on this. But yeah, the end of episode 4 was just like it moved me. It was like, it got my emotions like right away. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely worth checking out, Ronald. You would definitely dig it.
It's exciting. It sounds really like you guys had a lot of fun watching it.
It's a fun one for sure. But yeah, that's the only other one I wanted to mention. Moviesmovie.com is the website. You can go there to subscribe to the podcast, listen to past episodes, or to jump into the platform of your choice. If you want to subscribe somewhere else, that's also fine. You can go to youtube.com/movie podcast if you want to do the video, long, short, audio, all of it. Whatever you want, it's there. Subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. We'd really appreciate it if you like an episode, give it a thumbs up, comment on it, do whatever you can to interact, show us some sort of engagement that you're liking what we're doing. Or if not, tell us how to make it better. I mean, we're open to anything really. Yeah. We'd appreciate it. But again, my pick for next week for required viewing is Twinless. It's on digital rental platforms everywhere like Amazon and Vudu, all those things. But it's also on Hulu. If you have Hulu, you can stream it there for the subscription you're already paying for. And I guess next week we'll talk about some other stuff. We're not sure yet, but it'll definitely be more stuff. Promise you. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, you made our day. Thanks.
Come to the sun, big boy.
You got to give Nikki that tag.